Behind every major real estate deal, there's a room you're not allowed into. Not yet. On one side of the table sit pension funds, family offices, institutions that wrote the checks. Hundreds of millions of dollars in combined equity. On the other side sits you, the one who put in almost none of it. But you walk away with more than everyone else at that table combined. Not because of a loophole. Because of one clause buried in every deal, a clause most people funding these projects have never thought to question. This is the career that controls that room. Every level of it. If you're enjoying this type of content, a sub goes a long way. All right, let's get into it. Level 1, the development analyst. You are 22 years old, and your job is to understand why things cannot be built. Not literally. Your title is development analyst. Your salary is $78,000 at a firm that develops commercial real estate in a city that is always arguing with itself about what it should look like in 20 years. Your actual job is to build financial models and carry the documents that more senior people need into rooms they do not invite you into. The model is called a pro forma, a financial projection of a project that does not exist yet. You estimate what it costs to build, what the finished building will generate in rent or in sale, and you subtract one from the other. The number you are left with is either the reason the project happens or the reason it does not. Your first pro forma takes 4 days. Your senior associate corrects 17 assumptions and sends it back. You redo it. She corrects 9 more. The third version she sends to the director without comment. You learn that in this industry, the absence of correction is the closest thing to praise that exists at your level. You spend the first 6 months learning the capital stack, which is the hierarchy of who provides the money and who gets paid back first. At the top sits the bank, which provides the construction loan short-term debt that funds the building process and gets repaid first because it takes the least risk. Below the bank sits the equity, investors who provide 30 to 40% of the project costs and expect a higher return because they absorb the loss if the project fails. At the bottom of the stack, taking the most risk and standing to make the most money, is the developer. The developer often puts in as little as 1 to 5% of the total cost. What they contribute instead is the idea, the relationships, the expertise, and the years it took to assemble the deal before a single dollar of outside capital was committed. You are 23. Total compensation this year is $92,000. You have built 14 pro formas. Exactly none have resulted in a project that broke ground. This is normal. Most deals die before they begin. The ones that survive are the ones where every number in the model survived contact with reality. Level 2, the associate. You source your first land deal at 27 and the feeling is nothing like what you expected. You have an MBA now, or 2 years of analyst experience at a more senior firm, or both. Your base is $140,000. Bonus brings total compensation in a good year to around $185,000. You are no longer building the model for someone else's deal. You are finding the deals that become the models. Sourcing means calling landowners who are not selling, driving through neighborhoods at 7 in the morning, identifying parcels, finding out who owns them, and then sitting across from families who have held that land for 40 years and explaining why your number, which is lower than what they think their land is worth, actually reflects what it can support given what you intend to build. Most of those conversations end with nothing. You make 37 calls in your first quarter. 2 call back. 1 is not serious. The other becomes your first deal. The parcel is a former auto repair shop in a neighborhood the city has zoned for mixed-use development, meaning apartments and ground floor retail. The city has already decided it wants this, which is why you found it. The land is listed at 4.2 million. You know the deal does not work at that number. You need 3.6. You build 2 versions of the model, one at each price, and present both to the seller. He counters at 3.9. You close at 3.8. The deal takes 11 months from land close to entitlement approval. During that time, 2 other parcels collapse before closing. One seller walks away, the other deal falls apart. when interest rates move enough to break the financing costs, the pro forma stops working, and you wire back a deposit you spent 3 days trying to justify keeping. Walking away from a deal that does not pencil is not failure. It is the discipline that separates the people who last in this industry from the people who do not. Level 3, the senior associate. You own a project now. Not financially, not in any way that puts your name on a deed, but operationally. It is yours from the moment the land closes to the moment the building opens, and everything in between is your problem. You are 30. Your base is $165,000. Bonus brings total compensation to around $230,000. The project is a 120-unit apartment building in a mid-sized city. Total project cost $38 million. Your firm's equity in the deal is $9.5 million. The rest is the construction loan from the bank. The first 18 months belong to entitlement, the legal process of convincing the local government that your project meets every zoning code, design standard, and community requirement necessary to receive permission to build. You appear before the City Planning Commission 4 times. Traffic studies, facade revisions, opposition letters from neighboring owners. On the third appearance, a council member raises affordability concerns, and you spend 6 weeks negotiating a community benefit agreement that commits 5% of units to affordable rents in exchange for approval. The fourth time, they approve it. The relief lasts 40 minutes. Then, the construction loan process begins. A construction loan is not a mortgage. The bank does not release the full amount at once. It releases funds in draws as construction progresses and sends an inspector before each draw to verify the work is actually complete. This means your relationship with the general contractor is not just a business relationship. It is a dependency. If the contractor falls behind, your draw schedule falls behind. If your draw schedule falls behind, your loan carries interest for longer and your return shrinks. In month 8, the contractor calls to tell you steel prices have risen 14% since the original bid. That is not a contingency item. It is a problem. 3 days on the phone with the contractor, the bank, and your director. The problem gets solved. You do not tell anyone how many hours you spent in your car before it did. The building opens. It leases up in 4 months. Return to investors, 17% annualized. Your director sends a one-line email. Good work, you have heard that before. This time, it lands differently. Level 4, the vice president. You raise your first equity round at 34 and understand for the first time that development is not a construction business. It is a capital business. Construction is what happens after the capital is in place. Your base is $220,000. Bonus brings total cash compensation to around $360,000 in a strong year. And for the first time, you have access to the promote, the mechanism that separates real wealth in this industry from a very good salary. Here's how it works. Investors commit equity in exchange for a target return, typically between 8 and 12% per year. They are called limited partners, passive, writing the check, then waiting. Your firm is the general partner. You find the deal, build the project, manage every piece of it. The agreement says that once investors have received their capital back, plus their target return, any profit above that threshold is split disproportionately in the general partner's favor. That excess share is the promote. It is the financial logic that makes development worth the risk. Your first deal as VP is a mixed-use tower in a secondary market. 180 units, 20,000 square feet of ground floor retail, $54 million in total cost. You raise $11 million from 3 institutional limited partners over 6 months of meetings, site tours, and model reviews. The largest LP is a pension fund that reviews the deal across 3 committee sessions. You present at all 3. You answer the same questions about construction risk and exit assumptions in progressively more detail each time. On the morning of the equity close, the wire confirmations come through and you sit at your desk without moving. Every deal before this one belonged to your firm. This one you built from the land acquisition to the capital raise. Your name is in the operating agreement. If this performs, your personal promote allocation exceeds $1 million. If it does not, the investors lose money, and that conversation will not be one you can delegate. You approve the first construction draw at the end of that week. If you've made it this far, you're exactly who this channel is for. A subscribe helps me keep making these. No pressure, but I'd appreciate it. Level 5, the managing director. You run the platform now, not one project, the entire pipeline. You are 40. 6 active projects across 3 cities, $412 million in combined project cost. Base is $270,000. Total cash compensation with bonus sits around $520,000 in a strong year. The number that actually matters is the promoted interest accumulated across 4 deals approaching their exit. If those projects hit underwritten returns, your combined promote allocation will exceed $6 million. This is the level where the job changes entirely. You are no longer the person who knows every detail of every project. You are the person who knows the right details at the right moment. You have 7 direct reports. Their performance is your performance. Their mistakes come back to you in the form of investor conversations you would prefer not to have. One of your VPs brings a deal in a market you have not worked before. The land basis is aggressive, more per square foot than comparables suggest, because you believe the market is moving faster than the data reflects. The model works at your assumptions. At consensus assumptions, it does not. You approve it. You tell her exactly why you approved it and exactly what conditions would cause you to regret it. 6 months later, a competing project is announced, 3 blocks away. You spend a weekend on revised scenarios. The deal still works, but the margin is thinner. You call the LP before they see it in a market report. Walk them through the revised underwriting, and they stay in the deal. Your VP learns something about transparency and investor trust that no pro forma could have taught her. You do not think of yourself as one of the leading real estate developers in the country, which is what you were introduced as at an industry conference this quarter. You think of yourself as someone very good at managing risk on behalf of people who have trusted you with capital that is not yours to lose. Level 6, the principal. You leave the firm at 44, not dramatically. 3 years of quietly assembling LP relationships, legal structure, and the operating infrastructure a platform needs before it can stand independently. Your MD says 2 things when you tell him officially: that you are ready and that he wants to co-invest on the first deal. The project that made your name was a mixed income tower in a city center that every other developer passed on. Contaminated land, complicated air rights, 3 city agencies with overlapping jurisdiction. You spent 11 months getting it to closing while still at the firm. You are 46. The tower has 310 units, 40,000 square feet of commercial space, and a ground level public park the city required as part of the entitlement agreement. Total project cost, $114 million. Your firm committed 8% of the equity. The rest came from 2 institutional LPs and a mezzanine lender, a lender who sits between the bank and the equity in the capital stack, taking more risk than the bank in exchange for a higher interest rate. The project returned 23% annualized, well above the 12% hurdle that triggered the promote. Your personal promote was $4.1 million. The number did not change your life the way you expected. What changed was how other developers looked at you when you walked into a room. The deal became a case study in 2 business school programs. The mayor's office called to consult on a transit-oriented development district that would unlock 3 sites you have been watching for 2 years. Now you are building under your own flag. First deal, a $48 million industrial to residential conversion in a neighborhood that has been post-industrial for 30 years and pre-residential for the last 5. The model underwrites to a 19% return on a 12% hurdle. You have signed a personal guarantee on the construction loan. That means if this project fails, the bank comes after your personal assets. It is a $4.7 million guarantee you did not need to sign personally. Your net worth is high enough that most banks would have accepted the entity guarantee alone. You signed it personally because it is your deal. You believe in it the way you believed in every deal that required someone to take a position when the easy answer was to pass. The easy answer has never been the one that built anything. There is someone else in this story. You have seen him in every room since level 4. He is the one who writes the check. He is 51 years old. For 19 years, he has been allocating capital to developers from a family office, earning an average of 11.4% per year. A strong number, the number he gives at dinners. What he does not mention at those dinners is the closing dinner 3 years ago, where the developer across the table had put in 8% of the equity, and his family office had put in 22. The deal returned 23%. His family office did well. The developer, through the promote, made $4.1 million on a deal his family office had funded 3 times over. He had signed promote agreements on 14 deals before that night. He had never felt them the way he felt them at that dinner. He had been providing the fuel. Someone else had been driving. And in this industry, the driver takes more than the fuel provider, by design. Because everything you just watched is not a passive activity, it is a career. He is not angry, he is recalibrating. He sourced his first land parcel 6 months ago. He has appeared before the Planning Commission once. They asked for a revised traffic study. He is 51, and starting at the bottom of a ladder, he watched others climb for 2 decades. In any deal, there are 2 kinds of people: the ones who provide the capital and the ones who control what happens to it. The promote exists because those are not the same skill, do not carry the same risk, and do not deserve the same reward. The buildings that define a city's skyline were not built by the people with the most money. They were built by the people willing to put their name on the line for something that did not exist yet. That is the career. That is what it costs.